It's, for me, an extraordinary pleasure to introduce this year's Richard M. Clarke Distinguished Entrepreneurial Lecturer, Ms. Debbie Hart. When you think about entrepreneurship in New Jersey, what makes it work so well here, time after time, Debbie Hart is right at the, heart of the action. In 2012, New Jersey, as we look about, has a very vibrant biotech industry. It's one of our shining jewels when you look throughout the state of New Jersey. This just didn't happen. People made it happen. Some of those people are extraordinary and not only make it happen, but other things that they do. One of them is Debbie Hart, but she's also extraordinary in another way. She is an outstanding entrepreneur in her own right. As she looked about the state of New Jersey, she recognized that the biotech industry needed an advocate. Not only did she recognize that, but she decided to step up and be that advocate for biotech in the state of New Jersey. The organization is called BioNJ, and Debbie is its president. For 18 years, she has worked tirelessly to promote a business and public policy environment that helps our biotech industry not only grow, but thrive remarkably well in the state of New Jersey. Since BioNJ was founded, the number of biotech companies in the state of New Jersey has tripled. That is no coincidence. We know biotech and many other industries can profit mightily by deeper connections with this state's great educational institutions and government organizations, networking connections. This is what she's good at. As we look about to see the fruits of her labor, we know that they came from individuals who have not only the will and the commitment, but the patience and the care, the knowledge to make those things happen. Speaking of being everywhere, if you look about the world, you see her fingerprint, if not her footprints, as she tracks around this planet to promote biotech for the state of New Jersey. It's no wonder that she has been honored repeatedly, most recently as one of NJBIZ's powerful 100 people, 2 times in a row. We wonder why it took them so long to recognize what she's been doing for the state of New Jersey. Well, we do not have to wait any longer. If you're an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, you know you have a lot to learn from this remarkable person. It is indeed my pleasure, my honor, to ask to come before you tonight, Ms. Debbie Hart. Debbie?
Thank you so much, Dean Moore, for those incredibly generous comments. I assure you they are very generous. It is my pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank Jim Baroud for the opportunity and the honor. It's truly a privilege and a pleasure. And also I'd like to congratulate you on the great work that you do at the Rothman Institute and all the great work that happens here at FDU. I think we saw some really shining examples of that this evening. I'm really impressed with the caliber of the students and the projects, and I want to invest in all of them. And to Provost Capuano, thank you so much for being here as well. Obviously, it's your leadership that's making a lot of this happen, so thank you. So, as I thought about how I would unravel my story here, it occurred to me that really, and I'm hoping I don't need my glasses, we'll see, but it occurred to me that really I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I've had the benefit of a little serendipity and more than a little luck along the way, as I think you'll hear. So I don't have a specific prescription, and in most cases, frankly, I didn't even have a plan. I just sort of followed my gut. I saw a fork in the road, and I took it. And then I adjusted where I needed to. Never thought about starting a company. never dreamed I would start an association, and frankly, I never imagined how much fun those two things could possibly be. So my story starts at Association Management Corporation, where I worked in the late 80s and the 90s. So Association Management Corporation was an association management company. So what is an AMC? So is there anyone in the audience? I'm sure there are. Actually, I know there are. I sort of cheated, because I know some of you. But anyone here a member of an organization, an association, trade, or professional group other than, say, let's say BioNJ, other than BioNJ? Yes. And what association is that? Okay. All right. We'll use that as a great example. So do you know about that group? Do you know where it's managed and who manages it? You do. Okay. You do. Oh, so you're cheating. Oh my, so you're the competition. Okay, so you do in fact. So is there anyone who thinks they know where their association is managed? And another person who's a member of a trade or professional group. So, okay, yeah, please. What association is that?
Institute of Management Consultants USA.
Okay.
Managed out of Washington, D.C., Smith Consulting.
Oh, okay. Okay, so again, another association management company. So.
Nationally, we're managed out of the Netherlands in 47 countries.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're helping me really prove the point, part of what I'm going to talk about. So an association management company, or an AMC, is a company that is very often in the background. And, you might be a member of an association, but you're not really sure of the fact that it even exists. Unless you're on the board who hired the company, you may not realize that there's an association in the background, behind the scenes, providing all of the support services that an association needs. Again, one that you might be a member of. So I was with the Association Management Corporation for 7 years, and I loved it. I really thought I would retire from there. But that's until the owners decided that they just didn't want to do it anymore. They didn't want to be in the business. We had 52 employees. They had 52 employees and 35 association clients, and they had been in business for 35 years. I was the director of communications then, and I was executive director of 2 very small clients when they just pulled the rug out from under us, frankly, and we were left asking where to go, what to do, and we had 2 months to do it. So I took the 2 small associations that I was working with, and I went to another association management company where I figured out pretty quickly it wasn't exactly the right culture fit for either side. So it was one of the quickest major life decisions I ever made, which sparked, frankly, another really quick major life decision. So I left the company on Wednesday, and I started a company on Thursday with not a lot of pre-thought, as you'll hear. The next morning, that Thursday morning, I woke up sort of foggy, and I hadn't been drinking the night before, and I wasn't quite sure what I had done, and even worse, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. The good news is that I had the foresight when I went to that company to have them sign an agreement that allowed me to take my clients if we did decide to part ways. So the risk, though, was that my clients wouldn't come along. Fortunately, they did. But now remember, this is 2 moves for these 2 associations over the course of just a couple of months. It was pretty traumatic for everyone, them and me. Despite the angst, though, by the end of the week, I'd incorporated Association Associates, Inc. We call ourselves the partner that leads. That sparked one of really the most exciting times of my life. I went to a friend that very morning, and who was an attorney, and he had a very small office. He was a one-person shop. I was in tears. I just might add that little detail. I pleaded with him to let me set up shop there, and he had 4 offices, or 4 rooms actually, and I took one of those offices and shared the conference room with him. Paid a little bit of rent. So here's the sign that my dear, sweet, departed dad made for us that sat outside once I moved into his building. So the establishment of AAI kicked off an extended period of working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and I would come home. My parents would say, "So what were you doing there until 4 in the morning?" To be honest, I don't really remember a lot. One of the things I do remember is that we had, it was 1992. That was, so where are the students in the room? The students who are undergrad. Who are the undergrad students in the room? Are there? Okay. So there's a couple of you. Okay, so you won't remember this. But so when email first started, email addresses were about 100 characters long. And so that was one of the things that I worked on. In our new computer system, people were adding their email addresses. They were sending me their email addresses, and I was putting them in, character by character, 100 at a shot. It was very painful. Fortunately, things have gotten much better. So anyway, again, I can't really tell you a lot of what I was doing, but I can tell you that I loved every minute of it. Thank God for my parents and the printer that they bought me. It was actually an HP 4. And by the way, I literally verified this morning. So again, this is 92. This is 2012. It is still working. It is still working. I highly recommend HP printers. I did buy my own computer, though, and then I was off to the races. So I'm not really sure why, but it felt like I was doing something really important that was really just right for me, and it was fun, and I felt the passion, that fire in the belly that you hear about, right? And again, I'm not sure why. Certainly it was not for the money was not the driver, because the company grossed a whopping $72,000 that year. I paid myself a whopping $12,000. Again, thanks to my parents, I could do that and still eat when I needed to. After a year, I added my third employee, and my attorney friend politely kicked us out once we had effectively taken over his office. So he was smart to do that, though, I will tell you, because as I said, I was still living at home, and I actually lived in my parents' home until I got married when I was 38 years old, and I'll just share with you. So this is the sign that my parents put up at my wedding. So not quite the same as the sign, the other sign I shared with you, but my dad assured me that, in fact, they were both created with equal amounts of love and affection. There have been ups and downs. There have been ups and downs along the way, including the first big decision to cut a client, one of my original 2 clients that I brought with me. The first big decision to cut an employee, one of my original employees. These are not decisions that one makes easily or takes lightly. In fact, actually, the cutting of the first client was 6 years into the company, and I had really spent the better part of that previous year with good, bad, pro, con, should I, shouldn't I, kinds of lists. I did finally cut the cord. Fortunately, it was the right decision. I never looked back, and except when I remind myself that, in fact, decisions like that should not take that long. Tried to learn from my mistake there. So back to the story. So not too long after I started the company, I met someone who's now my longtime friend, Al Camiotti. He's a lobbyist in Trenton now. Al was the chairman of an annual 500-mile bike ride. Some of you may be aware of it, the Anchor House Ride for. It's called the Anchor House Ride for Runaways. It's actually for its programs from birth to 21 years old for runaway, abused, neglected children and teens. So Al knew that I was a runner and a cyclist, and so he invited me to join the ride. That invitation changed my life. I rode that year. It was the summer of '92, 6 months or so after I started the company, and again, one of the best years of my life. I met some of the most wonderful people, and was also able to serve this worthy cause. The ride raises about $500,000 every year, and it's the once-in-a-lifetime experience I get to have literally every year. Anyone who's interested in learning more, anchorhousenj.org. It's my only commercial my only commercial at all, but I think that's an important one. So remember that these couple things changed my life. So one of the ways, through the bike ride and through Al, he introduced me to Dale Florio and Brad Brewster. I'm sure many of you recognize those names. They were then, and they are now, the #1 lobbying firm in Trenton, in New Jersey. And we, meaning AAI, my company, and PPAG, their company, established a partnership that included referring clients back and forth. And I will never forget the day that Brad Brewster called me in late 1993 to ask if I would like to help establish a trade association for the biotechnology industry. So I'd heard the word biotechnology back in 1984 when I was working for a developer. It was my first job out of graduate school. And that developer speculated way back then that Route 130 would be a biotech corridor. And now 30 years later, in fact it is, if you drive up or down Route 130, there's a biotech, a pharma, or a generics company on every corner. So of course I said yes to Brad, because it meant that there would be a new client for AAI, but I never imagined the wild ride that I was in for. With that one phone call, I was catapulted into an electrifying time, literally, that has lasted nearly 20 years now and resulted in what is today known as BioNJ. Through my work with BioNJ, I have the opportunity to work with amazing leaders like Governor Christie. This was Governor Christie at our annual meeting in February. Also, U.S. Senator Bob Menendez and Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno. Now, I will tell you this story, or this picture was taken back in October, and for those of you who saw me before I took off my jacket, you will notice that, in fact, I do have the same outfit on tonight. So my only regret is that my husband's not here, because then I'd be able to say, see, honey, I really do wear my clothes more than once. I get to work with entrepreneurs like Dr. Lisa Drakeman, Dr. Saul Barrow, Fred Hassan, John Crowley, and Bob Hugan of Celgene Amicus Therapeutics, former Shearing Plow, and GenMab, and others, as you would imagine. So I've learned so much from these people and these experiences, and I still do every day. And I'm shameless about, frankly, making the most of these interactions with these brilliant people. And I would recommend, especially to the students in the room, that you do the same. Select a mentor. Don't be shy about asking for their counsel. Ask a million questions. Learn everything you can. Meanwhile, back at BioNJ, it's been an interesting road. We've survived takeover attempts by not one, not two, but 3 different competing organizations over the years on no fewer than 5 different occasions. They're the ones that I know of that the board shared with me. We now have 300 members, and the industry in New Jersey has grown from 30 biotech companies in 1993 when we started to 80 in 1998 to more than 335 today. That doesn't include big pharma, does not include medical devices, or the hundreds of service providers that are so vital to a successful cluster. It's been a labor of love, as I hope you're getting. I pinch myself every day that I get to work with BioNJ. In addition to our dedicated board and our talented team, part of BioNJ's success is due to the fact that New Jersey is such a great place for the biotech industry. Companies are forming in and coming to New Jersey all the time. New Jersey has all the elements that a successful cluster needs. This is a list of some of the assets that we have in New Jersey. Our workforce is second to none, literally second to none. We have a very supportive state government. Each and every governor since Governor Whitman has been, actually since Governor Kane has been supportive in his or her own way. Governor Christie is certainly no exception. We have great centers of academic excellence like FTU. So I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Our quality of life in New Jersey, you just cannot beat it. So actually I went a little too fast. So meanwhile, AEI has grown thanks to the rest of the great team at AEI, because I frankly spend most of my waking hours with BioNJ. So after paying rent for 18 years, starting at $250 a month back in my friend's law office, when I looked back and realized literally we spent about $2 million over 16 years, 17 years at the time, I finally broke down and bought a building. And so we're operating out of that building in Trenton today. Again, a decision that took way too long. My advice would be, you're getting a theme here, right? That the really hard decisions take me a while. Don't let them take that long. Learn from my mistakes. We have 28 employees at AEI, including the BioNJ team. We're on track to do about $3 million in business this year, up from about $2 million at the end of 2010. Meanwhile, I'm pleased to report that training began this past Saturday for the annual Anchor House Bike Ride. I will do my 17th ride this year. We'll start in Staunton, Virginia on July 8th. We'll arrive in Trenton on July 14th. As I've said, I've gotten much more out of Anchor House than I ever put into it. I'm now a board member, have collected many, many cherished friends that I will keep for the rest of my life. And not to mention several clients, as I said, including BioNJ and others, that came about as a result of my chance meeting of Al Camiotti, Dale Florio, and Brad Brewster. So that's my story of accidental entrepreneurship, but I also wanted to share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. These are some of my guidelines. Some I've made up, some I've borrowed from others. Some are cliches, and they're cliches because, let's face it, they work, right? I hope they're helpful to you. So, as Wayne Gretzky said, and it turns out Wayne Gretzky is quite the philosopher, I will quote him several times, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So just think about that, right? So think about some of the risks that other people have taken, and where would we be if, Lewis and Clarke, Amelia Earhart, Christopher Columbus hadn't done what they did? For better or for worse, right? Donald Trump. He went bankrupt twice. Obviously, a huge risk taker. In the end, he's been very successful, whether you like him or not. But taking those risks is essential to progress and success. Also from Wayne Gretzky, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been. How well can you anticipate, calculate, and react to what the next step will be, and how quickly? The most successful entrepreneurs are maestros at that. Just taking the time to think about what next might be will help provide insurance that you are likely to be prepared for it. So figure out what causes your fire in the belly, right? What keeps you up at night in a good way, and pursue it. If it means working 24/7 or means living in your parents' home a while longer, just go for it. So again, the younger set may not recognize this, but so Yogi Berra is, he has lots of famous sayings, and one of his is if you see a fork in the road, take it. So I take that to mean not being intimidated by the choices. Make a choice, take the path, and don't look back, unless, of course, you learn that, in fact, it was the wrong choice. And if it happens to be, cut your losses, head back, take another path. There's always room for mistakes. In fact, I'll share with you that early on in the establishment of AI, I was sort of feeling, pretty good about it, and in fact, a year later, I formed another company. I found out pretty shortly that I didn't have the passion or the time or the commitment to it, so I dissolved it pretty quickly. But it would have been really much better if I hadn't started it at all. But fortunately, it didn't take a big capital investment. No harm done, and lots of lessons learned. Again, mistakes are okay. In thinking about my path for tonight, I was reminded of the key decisions and the key influences along the way, and some gifts that really didn't look like gifts initially. So, in fact, I bring our friend Donald Trump up again because I was actually fired from my first job. I'm embarrassed to say. I'd been there a year, and I was going in for what I thought was my first excellent review. And they shared with me that they were eliminating my position. They fortunately gave me as much time as I needed to find a job, but I was devastated. I cried through the whole thing, and I was devastated. But I will say that it made me stronger, and it made me realize that I needed to control my own destiny, that I never wanted to be at someone's mercy again. So I guess entrepreneurship was a logical answer for me. The second that was a gift but didn't look like it in the beginning was that my company went out of business. So the things that I've done, been able to do since then have come out of that. Also, a gift that did make itself known as a gift was remember that phone call from Brad Brewster that was the start of BioNJ. So again, they were all important crossroads that led me here. So when and where and what will your crossroads be, and what path will you take? What is your passion? I've been blessed, as you've heard, to have experienced that passion that kept me working 20 hours, 7 days a week, in particular for that first year for AI and countless hours since then. And the passion that I still feel today after working with BioNJ for nearly 20 years. I'm just very lucky. Giving back is such an important part of life. As I've tried to demonstrate, we get much more out than we put in. Anchor House and the bike ride are my examples. I ask, what are yours? And who will appear in your life, and will you seize the opportunity, and more importantly, whom will you put in your life? So obviously, it's a no. Whoops, did I go too fast? Oh. I didn't go fast enough. Okay, so it's obviously important, right? We have to work hard. We all know that. But you also have to play hard. Actually, this is a sign that my team gave me at Christmas time this year. This is one of my mantras: fun, fun, fun. You have to have fun, and you need to schedule it. Whether it's 6:30 a.m. or 6:30 p.m., make time for it and stick to it. My team would tell you too that my runs and my bike rides they're on the calendar. Time with my nieces and nephews, it's on my calendar. Back to the early days of AI, I was running literally to and from the office to get that run in. My mom, sometimes it would be 11 o'clock at night. She'd sit up and wait, God bless her, but she, I needed to do what I needed to do. It got me through the day. So more importantly, though, than scheduling time for fun is schedule time for the people that you care about. These are my seven favorite people in the whole wide world. They're my sisters, my 3 sisters' kids. But who are those special people in your life, and will you make time for them? One of the best pieces of advice I ever heard is feel the fear and do it anyway. So let me say that again. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's okay to be afraid. Someone once said the greatest barrier to success is the fear of failure. Don't let your fear be your failure. Don't save your New Year's resolutions for New Year's. Why wait? Procrastination has no place in entrepreneurship. Wayne Gretzky, yet again, the philosopher, and he thought he was just a hockey player, right? Procrastination is one of the deadliest of diseases, and its toll on success and happiness is heavy. So just do it already. And it goes without saying, never, ever, ever give up. I mean, even Charlie Brown knew that, so. Don't let anyone tell you no, unless it's what you want to hear. Say no to no. One of my favorite philosophies is this: to lead is to serve. Whether in the people you work with or the customers or the clients that you work for, our job is to serve. Coming from a place in your heart of wanting to serve creates the right mindset, the right spirit to go the extra mile, to get your ego out of the way, to make it about others and the cause and the mission. Remember, it is so cliche, but it's so true, that there is no I in team. It is the people around us who they help get us there. Attitude is critical, and that lends itself to two of my favorite cliches. So make lemonade out of lemons. So we were doing this when I practiced in front of my team at the office today, and I said, make lemon out of lemonades. They said, no. It's make lemonade out of lemons, right? Did I say that right? Yeah, okay. And one of their team members was there, oh, just tell them to have a margarita. So have a margarita. The glass is always half full. These words, I see opportunity. So that was the precursor. Think about it. I see opportunity. It was the precursor to every invention ever made and every successful company ever started. The law of attraction tells us that whatever we think and focus on is what we will draw into our lives. So think happy thoughts and happiness will come your way. Think successful thoughts and success will come. So, play sports. So many lessons and so much confidence can be learned in sport, especially through golf. And I just want to speak to the women in the room, especially the younger women in the room. Golf, it's just invaluable. Don't let the men go out there without you. So I will share with you, I started playing golf in 1990, and so I was at the Association Management Company, and there was an association outing, and all of a sudden I looked up, and all of the men were gone. And at the time, I was the only woman executive in the company, and they were all out the door, and I was in my desk, and it turns out that they were all at the golf outing, and I vowed that will never happen again. So I started taking golf lessons. It was one of the best decisions that I ever made. The things that you learn on the golf course, the camaraderie, the time, the quality time spent with whomever you're with, the strategy, the thinking that occurs is just, it's just priceless. So what are the things that you've been thinking? Wouldn't it be cool if, I wish I could, or I wish I would? I would encourage you to take one step at a time so that the overall doesn't seem like a big scary monster, just one step at a time. Go do that one thing. Start small, take one small step, make one small advance, and that turns into progress as you build each small step on top of the other. As someone whose life work involves trade and professional associations and volunteers, my next point will not come as a big surprise. So I would advise you to get involved in your trade and professional groups. You'll meet great people, you'll learn from the educational opportunities, and learn how to be a leader in your field. Also, I don't know if you can make this out, but this is one of the from Greek mythology, Narcissus, be humble at all times. Just when you think you got it going on, you don't. You are never as smart as you think you are, and you will never do it alone. This is Jeff Hoffman. So Jeff was last year's Entrepreneurial Series lecturer, and Jim was nice enough to send me the link to his remarks. And I have to say, they are required viewing. If you weren't here last year, if you didn't have the pleasure, so Jeff was a co-founder of Priceline.com. But back to Jeff. Jeff was again required viewing, truly inspirational. I would highly recommend it. William Shatner, not so much, but. So in closing, I will quote yet another sports figure. Muhammad Ali said, "Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential, it's temporary. Impossible is nothing." And I think he knew a little bit about impossible, didn't he? So with this, I will make my exit. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you've picked up a few maybe things that might be helpful to you in your life, and I would encourage you to take that risk you've been putting off. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You'll have to stay up there to answer the questions.
I did say I'd take
So wait for the mic, and let's get some questions going. I'll start with some great piece of advice there. Perhaps a regret or two that you might want to share with us?
A regret or two. So, I guess some of the things I shared, I guess my biggest one is that sometimes it takes me a while to make the decisions. I guess in the end, I feel like I've made the right decision once I make it, but it definitely takes me a while. Severing with employees is one of my weakest, points, and maybe my hiring is even a weaker point because why did I hire them in the first place? But that's another question. I'd say that's probably it. Yeah.
First of all, Debbie, thank you. That was terrific. And I'm going to take the other end of Jim's question and ask, what have you not done yet that you'd like to do? You're a young woman. You still have a lot of your career time ahead of you. What else do you think that you sort of have that burning passion, that fire in the belly?
Thank you for saying I have a lot of my career ahead of me. I hope so, but sometimes I wonder. So honestly, it's completely unrelated to what I do. I have often said, so it's the one thing, so what's the one thing you say, I wish I could, or I wish I would, or I'd like to, or the one thing for me probably is rehabbing houses. And it's just, so I love interior design, I love, decorating, and I think it would be a lot of fun. But, I tend to have a lot of people around me saying, no, you probably shouldn't do that. And I'm listening to them, so I probably should make a commitment tonight to go make that happen, right? Go take that risk. That's probably one of the things I'd really love to do.
Over the last 18 years, is there a particular advance in the research or a drug or a particular innovation that helped patients that touched your heart that you've observed?
Yeah, that's an easy one. It's the greatest story that we have in New Jersey of entrepreneurship and biotechnology and the state of New Jersey helping industry. So Celgene Corporation, I had Saul Bear and Bob Hugan, their current CEO, up there. So they took, if you remember thalidomide, that was devastating to women if they took it in their first trimester back, I guess, in the 60s. So Celgene took that same drug, made some changes to it, added some protocols that ensured that would never happen again, and they brought it back. And it's now it's helping cancer patients, arthritis patients, AIDS patients. It's just been phenomenal, and the company has gone from back in 1998, 35 employees, 6 weeks of cash. The state of New Jersey instituted a program that gave them $3.5 million. They are now today, the last I heard was they were about a $50 billion company. They're one of the top 3 biotech companies in the world. Again, they're our flagship company in New Jersey, and they've created so many jobs. They're probably around 1,600 jobs in New Jersey. They are a global company. They have offices throughout the world. So we're very proud of Celgene. Bob Hugan, yes, he's the chairman and CEO now. He believes in it in his heart. Well, I think that's part of the spirit that creates success. And Bob is a tremendous man. He's also a tremendous speaker. I'm sure you really enjoyed it. And he writes all his own speeches, and he speaks from notes that are just written all over, on the page. But so I have not heard him say that, but it's not that surprising. Yeah, he was there. He was helping forge Celgene ahead, and what they've been able to do with the company. It's much more than a thalidomide. Thalamid is what they call it. Much more than a thalamid company today. So, but I think that kind of, the glass half full, the lemonade out of lemons, have a margarita kind of mentality is just critically important. You just, can't let the bad guys drag you down, and just keep charging and plugging along. Very true. And I would say, that's the culture at Celgene. They hire amazing people who just make it happen.
Debbie, just reflecting on your thoughts about rehabbing houses.
You have some advice for me?
Well, think about your organizational skills and your desire and your burning in the belly, et cetera, and the idea that you have already done the impossible. Okay? Pick up Muhammad Ali, nothing's impossible, and maybe do a little twist to what you're thinking about. Maybe you don't have to do the physical, and maybe you don't have to form the company itself, and maybe you form the structure around which this exists. And maybe that's a way to do it. But follow that fire, you got it.
Follow that passion, right? I need to talk to you more about that. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
You mentioned Celgene, which is now a big company in New Jersey. How did organizations like BioNJ or other similar organizations help Celgene to get where they are right now?
I love that question. Thank you. It's almost like I planted you in the audience. So when Brad Brewster called, the part of the story I left out was that there were actually about 30 entrepreneurs in the biotech industry who had gone to see Karen Franzini, and Karen said, "You really need to organize yourselves into a trade association." And so that's when Brad was with them. He was their lobbyist right from the start, before there was an organization. I was lucky enough to get that call. So the state of New Jersey, one of our first initiatives at BioNJ was to form a bipartisan, bicameral task force that looked at what is the opportunity for biotechnology, what are the needs, how can the state of New Jersey be helpful. And so they created a program. They've done numerous things over the years, but they created a program that was the allowed biotechnology company. So biotech, it takes about 10 to 15 years and $1 billion on average to bring a drug to market. So Celgene, that's a lot of moolah, right? So how can the state be helpful in helping those companies find that money? So the one asset that the companies, and this was all these BioNJ entrepreneurs, and I'm not taking personal credit because it wasn't my brain that thought of it. So they said, what do we have to sell? What is our greatest asset? Our greatest asset is our losses. So can we somehow monetize those losses? And they went to the state, and through this bicameral, bipartisan task force with legislators, administration people back then in the Whitman administration. How can we monetize that? And so what they did, they allowed companies to sell their losses for cash. And that was literally the first of its kind across the country. It really got everyone's attention, put New Jersey on the map as being supportive of the industry. Again, Celgene got $3.5 million from that. They were the top winner that year. That year was a $50 million pool. Now it's $60 million. So that literally, again, they had 6 weeks of cash, 35 employees. They didn't know how they were going to make their payroll going out. They were able to actually borrow some money based on that commitment that they'd be getting that money from the state in addition to that money. So the state's been immensely helpful in supporting the industry.
I know that there are many great successes, and what do you see the future of New Jersey and BioNJ and the new and up and coming? What's going on with that and building your membership? And I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I did show the slide that talked about all of New Jersey's assets, and because of all those great assets, we are literally getting, phone calls and knocks on the door at BioNJ and also certainly the governor's office, Karen Franzini's office, from companies from around the world, other states, other countries that want to come to New Jersey and be part of it. One of the things that we have that nowhere else in the world has is commercialization talent. So as these companies go beyond the early stages and they're ready to commercialize, they will look to New Jersey, or if they want a U.S. presence, they will look to New Jersey because of our legacy, our long, rich history of the pharmaceutical industry, frankly, starting it, so this great talent that we have. So I believe the future is very bright, because we're lucky enough that these companies will come here. Hopefully they'll join BioNJ and we'll continue to grow. But the other thing that's happening more and more is that the companies are growing organically in New Jersey. I'm so proud of our universities. I'm so proud of the innovation that you're doing here. That kind of, having the students create projects that then, again, might be spun out literally. Some of those ideas could literally be a company, tomorrow. and I hope they will be. So our state universities are doing more to spin out companies, and in fact, UMD&J, I'll just cite that one example, has spun out about 10 companies in the last 5 years, and with more on the horizon. And Rutgers is doing a great job as well.
I am fearless about asking dumb questions.
Uh-oh.
What did you mean when you said they sold their losses?
They sold their losses. So if I'm Celgene and I have $10 million in losses, I would file an application with the EDA to sell those losses. The EDA would get that application and decide yay or nay if I was allowed to sell those losses. Celgene and the 100 other companies that applied would go into a pool, and they would all, if they were approved to sell them, they would get their pro rata share of that $50 or $60 now $1 million. So what they would then do, they got the commitment, they got the paper that says yes, they can sell them. So a company like PSE&G, which has a long history of buying these losses, would literally buy them for about, the market now is about 90 cents on the dollar. And they would take a tax write-off on their New Jersey tax return. It's the differential between their tax rate and what they paid. So in fact, they're saving some money. This company is getting a dramatic infusion of cash, and the state of New Jersey is giving up some revenue in the form of a tax, what they might have gotten from PSE&G, but they're making an investment in the state. When you hear the Celgene story, and in fact, when Governor Christie first came in, he was very smart. We were not happy with him initially because he cut our program from 60 to 30 million. But he also said, before we make this a permanent thing, let's look at exactly the return that and other incentive programs are giving. So they took a year and they did an analysis, and they found that in the biotechnology industry, it's not true in the tech community, but in the biotechnology industry, there's a significant return on the dollar of the state's investment. So we were thrilled to hear that. We sort of knew that. We had done our own study that talked it's about a 15-to-1, not including all the different metrics that go into it, but about a 15-to-1 return. So yeah, the state of New Jersey is getting some dollars back. I hope I answered your question. Well, okay, good. You're welcome.
Hi. I think that you're right. New Jersey's great at commercializing. How do you think New Jersey compares with Boston, Cambridge area as a biotech hub now?
Another one of my favorite questions. So if you look at, depending on whose list you're looking at, we are in the top 4 or 5. We believe that now we're behind California and Boston, Massachusetts, so New Jersey's number 3. The others are, North Carolina, Maryland, they have, significant presence. We're far and away, we're probably about half the size of Massachusetts, and frankly, I think that while the industry started in California, Massachusetts is the one to really keep the eye on. I mean, that's where the innovation is coming. And frankly, the reason that it's coming is because of the partnership, the spin-outs that are happening at, Harvard and MIT and institutions like that. They do it better than anywhere else in the world. And I said I wouldn't give a commercial, but I'm only going to say it because it's relevant. We have a meeting coming up on May 10th and 11th in Princeton that actually we have speakers from other tech transfer offices, other universities from around the country coming, and actually there's one, I believe it's a Harvard speaker who's going to be talking about the way they're doing that, and I hope that our folks here in New Jersey can learn something from that. So, yeah. It definitely is. It definitely is. And now with this environment, so it's difficult for biotechnology companies to raise money anyway. And in this environment, it's been much more difficult. The venture capitalists are looking at, so they're constrained because a lot of their investors are constrained with, the economy, and they're looking at, frankly, with fewer dollars, later stage opportunities. So our companies are feeling the pinch here in New Jersey and everywhere. But no, the venture capital community is much more vibrant in the Massachusetts area. The good news is that they don't have to invest in their own backyard. They can invest here, and in fact, they do. So.
Let me just end it with a follow-up. So the prescription for New Jersey, you've done great. You've done great so far with this organization. What else does the community, government, companies themselves, what else can we do to make us stronger against, competing against domestic as well as international clusters?
Yeah, so thank you. I mean, really, I think it's doing a lot more of what we're already doing. If government can find extra dollars, I know it's tough. You know, I would encourage government to do more, to commit more. I did mention the universities, and that's I think an opportunity, not a challenge. Let's say it's an opportunity to do more of what the universities have been doing recently. I think there's nothing that we're doing wrong. There's nothing that we're not doing, but again, we could be doing all of it more and better. So, okay, thank you. Thank you.